Kirk Douglas identifies the man. Clint Eastwood was the darkest star in Hollywood. On December 9, 1916, Kirk Douglas was born Iser Danilovic in Amsterdam, New York. Douglas was raised by impoverished Russian Jewish immigrants who valued education, hard work, and tenacity. Early in the 20th century, when the economy was struggling, his father, a ragman and tailor, found it difficult to support the family. And Douglas's unwavering will to succeed was influenced by this. He developed the inner fortitude and discipline that would characterize his personal and professional lives from a young age, determined to overcome the constraints placed on him by his surroundings. Despite his financial difficulties, Douglas went to college and studied drama at St. Lawrence University, where he developed his acting skills. Later, he studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City, where he honed his craft and laid the groundwork for a work career that would last more than 70 years. Early theater experiences for Douglas were characterized by commitment and perseverance. He took on little roles, performed in modest productions, and frequently faced rejection. He gained perseverance from these experiences that would later serve as a defining characteristic of his career as he made his way through the cutthroat and frequently harsh Hollywood industry. Douglas made his feature film debut in The Strange Love of Martha Ivers in 1946, and viewers were immediately enthralled by his captivating on-screen persona. His first major part was in the movie Champion, 1949. He portrayed Midge Kelly, a vicious and aspirational boxer. He became a major player in Hollywood with this performance, which garnered him his first Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. Because of his passion, vitality, and dominant presence, Douglas came to represent the ideal of the rugged, resolute, and morally nuanced hero. He starred in many classic films over the years, including Ace in the Hole, 1951, The Bad and the Beautiful, 1952, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1954, and Lust for Life, 1956. In these films, he played Vincent van Gogh, which won him praise from critics and cemented his status as one of the most versatile actors of his generation. Kirk Douglas was a trailblazer in the film industry in addition to his creative accomplishments, showing a strong sense of business and questioning the established quo. Being one of the first well-known actors to demand that he produce his own movies gave him more creative control and sway over the projects he worked on. Perhaps his most well-known work was producing and starring in the 1960 movie Spartacus, which not only became a huge box office hit, but also helped break the Hollywood blacklist by publicly recognizing screenwriter Dalton Trumbo, who was on the blacklist. Douglas's influence went well beyond his on-screen personas, as evidenced by this brave deed that mirrored his dedication to justice, integrity, and fairness. Kirk Douglas's personal life was characterized by fortitude and creativity. Numerous heart surgeries, a stroke, and the physical strain of age were among the major health issues he conquered. He nevertheless persisted in inspiring audiences and performers for generations to come through his writing and acting. His autobiographies, such as My Way and The Ragman's Son, provide a deep understanding of the hardships, victories, and ideologies that shaped his life and paint a picture of a man of remarkable bravery, compassion, and depth. Kirk Douglas's personal life was just as complex and full of events as his illustrious Hollywood career. When both were just starting their professions, he married Diana Dill for the first time on November 2, 1943. While raising a little family, Douglas and Dill, an actress from Bermudian descent, managed the difficulties of Hollywood life. The marriage had two sons, Joel and Michael Douglas, who would both succeed in the entertainment business. Joel establishing a career as a producer, and Michael becoming a globally recognized actor. The strains of Hollywood and personal conflicts eventually proved too much for the couple to bear, and they divorced in 1951 despite their common accomplishments and the strong ties of motherhood. This was a pivotal time in Douglas's life, influencing his perspectives on love, family, and the difficulties of preserving relationships while pursuing a demanding job in the spotlight. Douglas's love life continued to draw public notice after he and Dill got divorced. His autobiography, The Ragman's Son, states that he met Italian actress Piera Angeli on the set of The Story of Three Loves in 1953, and they became engaged in the early 1950s. Even while their engagement had all the passion of the Hollywood romances of the day, it did not end in marriage. The partnership, however, was a pivotal moment in Douglas's early adulthood and demonstrated the attraction and turbulence of love in the face of celebrity demands. Already a well-known young European actress, Angelique's bond with Douglas emphasized his charisma and the allure that attracted so many women to him, even if the relationship was short-lived. While filming Act of Love in Paris, Douglas met Biden's, which led to a more lasting change in his life. Biden's, whose multilingualism would later shape her sophisticated, cosmopolitan demeanor, was born Hannelore Marx on April 23, 1919, in Hanover, Germany. She had fled her homeland after surviving the atrocities of Nazi Germany. Their encounter in Paris signaled the start of a collaboration that would last for over 60 years, an impressive accomplishment in a field known for short-lived partnerships. Their marriage on May 29, 1954, cemented a partnership based on shared resiliency, creative cooperation, and personal devotion. By 2014, the pair was celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary at Beverly Hills' iconic Greystone Mansion. Both their lasting love and the deep relationship they had over the years are demonstrated by this. Peter and Eric were the two sons Kirk and had together. While Eric Douglas pursued acting, Peter Douglas became a producer, just like his father. When Eric died on July 6, 2004, at the age of 46, from an alcohol and drug overdose, tragedy befell the family. This tragedy added a depth of sadness to their otherwise amazing life together and had a tremendous effect on both parents. In spite of these difficulties, their marriage continued to be a source of support, communication, and respect for one another. When Kirk and Anne, Letters of Love, Laughter, and a Lifetime in Hollywood, was released in 2017, the pair gave the public a close-up look at their lives together. Decades of letters were collected in the book, which unveiled not only the breadth of their love and humor, but also the unvarnished, enduring tie that had kept them together through victories, setbacks, and the constantly shifting Hollywood landscape. Douglas kept up a loyal public persona while being open about his personal life, including extramarital affairs, and, who adopted a European marriage philosophy, was never kept in the dark about these infidelity issues, which included a number of well-known Hollywood celebrities. In a practical acceptance of her husband's transgressions, she clarified, "As a European, I knew it was unrealistic to expect total fidelity in a marriage, while simultaneously maintaining the core of their enduring relationship. Their unusual understanding and deep respect for one another made it possible for their marriage to succeed, despite their lives' inherent complexity and difficulties." Known for his commanding presence on and off film, Kirk Douglas, the renowned Hollywood icon, once shared intriguing details about Clint Eastwood, one of the most mysterious characters in American cinema. According to Douglas, who had worked with and watched many of Hollywood's most infamous celebrities, Eastwood was a real gentleman. Some who are used to Eastwood's tough guy persona on screen would find this description surprising. In contrast to the tough characters he frequently played in movies like Dirty Harry or The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Douglas said Eastwood brought with him a quiet dignity and subtle manners. "You don't see many stars with this calm, respectful way about them," Douglas said offset. He was truly courteous to the staff, the helpers, and even complete strangers. It seemed as though his aura differed from the character he developed on screen. Douglas's insight highlights the dichotomy that frequently occurs with Hollywood legends, the public persona and the inner self. However, Eastwood's character on screen could come out as ruthless, cold, and cunning. The individual described by Douglas was one whose attention and generosity were subtly but significantly felt by people around him. Douglas also emphasized Eastwood's commitment to his craft and professionalism, which distinguished him from many of his peers. According to Douglas, Clint was always thorough and well-prepared. Whether the part called for a simple emotional conversation or a complicated stunt, he tackled it with intensity and commitment. He treated the task with respect, and it was evident in everything he did. Having experienced the demands and rigors of Hollywood himself, Douglas appeared to perceive a kinship with Eastwood. Men who realized that a career in the erratic world of show business could not be sustained by talent alone. The demands of changing parts and genres, the whims of studio bosses, and the erratic nature of celebrity had all been suffered by both. For Douglas, Eastwood's professionalism was more than just a matter of convenience. It was a sign of integrity and character that frequently goes unrecognized amid the glitz and spectacle of Hollywood life. Douglas also did not hold back when talking about the less positive parts of Eastwood's image, especially the air of mystery and passion that surrounded him throughout his early career. There's truth to the notion that Clint is Hollywood's dark star, Douglas observed. On television, he had a certain edge, a dark aura, and a quiet power that made him captivating. However, many were blind to the fact that this intensity was never malice or conceit. It had depth and a seriousness about art and life. Douglas's nuanced perspective casts doubt on the oversimplified explanations sometimes associated with celebrity personas, arguing that characteristics that make a person appealing in public do not always translate into a challenging personality in private. According to Douglas, Eastwood's darkness was more about his dedication and genuineness in his work than his temperament, which won him respect and, occasionally, admiration. One of the most insightful parts of Douglas's commentary was his assessment of Eastwood's modesty and groundedness in spite of his enormous success. Even when he was at the top of his game, Clint was still friendly. He was never influenced by the money or the praise. In an environment full with Hollywood egos, he had a knack of listening and making others feel important. For Douglas, a guy who witnessed the ascent and descent of innumerable stars, this was a noteworthy attribute. It addressed a more profound level of self-awareness and morality. A reminder that the way one treats others along the way is just as important as skill or notoriety in determining true greatness. According to Douglas, Eastwood's legacy extends beyond his iconic roles and outstanding films. Not to mention the silent but lasting admiration he received from peers who saw his character for themselves. In the end, Kirk Douglas's thoughts on Clint Eastwood offer a unique look into the guy who created the legend, highlighting traits that are sometimes overlooked by the movies that viewers like. As a guy of honesty, modesty, and subtle kindness, Douglas portrayed Eastwood as a man whose private life stood in stark contrast to the gloomy celebrity persona Hollywood imposed on him. Douglas came to the conclusion that Clint Eastwood served as a reminder that character and moral character are just as important to Hollywood glory as skill or box office performance. By getting to know Eastwood personally, Douglas was able to see this delicate balance and see past the guy's rough appearance to the man who quietly, resolutely, and politely navigated the Hollywood industry, leaving a lasting impression on both film and those who had the good fortune to deal with him. One of Hollywood's most iconic figures and a living cinematic legend, Kirk Douglas, died on February 5, 2020, at the astounding age of 103. In the wealthy and charming area of Beverly Hills, California, a location that is closely associated with the glitz and legacy of Hollywood itself, he passed away at home. A tribute to the close ties Douglas had cultivated during his lengthy life, his last moments were spent in the consoling company of his family. His death signaled the end of a chapter in movie history because he was one of the last living celebrities from Hollywood's heyday, which created timeless masterpieces and set the standard for contemporary filmmaking. Douglas's longevity and sustained vigor far into his centennial years were a testament to his tenacity, self-control, and unwavering love of life, which he maintained right up until the end. The Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery, a historic burial site that has long been connected to some of Hollywood's most famous people, hosted Kirk Douglas' funeral on February 7, 2020, just 2 days after his passing. Douglas's burial at this cemetery, which is tucked away in the center of Los Angeles, solidified his place in the pantheon of great performers and serves as a moving reminder of the city's rich cinematic past. Close friends, family, and prominent members of the entertainment business reportedly attended the service to honor the deceased and celebrate a life that had been incredibly inspirational and influential. Douglas's burial was especially personal and significant because he was buried in the same site as his son, Eric Douglas, who tragically died young. The intensity of the family affection that Douglas treasured throughout his life was demonstrated by this last union and rest. A love that went deep into his personal life, beyond the glamour and sparkle of Hollywood. As a heartbreaking conclusion to the family's tale, Kirk's loving wife and Douglas died on April 29, 2021, at the age of 102. Through the highs and lows of Kirk's remarkable career and the challenges of living in the spotlight, and had been his loyal companion for decades. Another chapter in the Douglas family's history came to an end with her passing, and she was later laid to rest with her husband Kirk and their son Eric. The family's unwavering unity and the strong ties that bonded them together even after death were symbolized by this last resting place. The plot of the Douglas family, thus, serves as a tribute to the lasting love, devotion, and tenacity that defined their lives in addition to the extraordinary lifespan of its members. The extraordinary human tale that lies behind the movie legend is so captured in the tale of Kirk Douglas's funeral and the subsequent burial of his cherished wife, Anne. Family commitment, longevity, and a legacy that inspires future generations characterize this tale.